Hey guys, in this video we're going to do a subscriber request, and if you've been watching the channel you know we've gotten quite a bit of snow around here, and that's just the way it is up where we live, and that's why we've had so many bench videos going lately. But we did find two that will go in the snow, and so in this video we're going to go head to head with the Kraton 8S and the Xmaxx and see which one handles those conditions better. Now the Xmaxx has a couple of upgrades on it. It does have the RPM arms, the RPM outdrives or the hub carriers, and the captured hinge pins. Everything else in this car is stock. The only thing we've changed on that one, which is the Kraton 8S, we put the EXB chassis on it, and that's all. So we're gonna go ahead and run these for you, let you see how we do. We're gonna run each one over the same course to see how they handle, how they hold up, and how they perform overall. At the end of the video, we're going to go ahead and give you our thoughts on the subject and see which one we would deem out of the box Snow King. Check this out. Okay, so there you go. There's the running footage in the snow, and you know, these things are both a lot of fun. Now we've got 4 questions, and these aren't our normal 4 questions. This is a special video, so we've got 4 questions. 1, how was the control? 2, how did they handle during jumping? 3, what were the run times between the cars? And 4, what's necessary for maintenance afterward? Because snow is water. Water hates metal, and things have problems, and there are certain things you have to do to maintain your vehicle if you run them in the water. So let's get started. Before we get into our 4 questions here, we want to go over roughly what these things are like in the snow. Now keep in mind, we went from, you know, having maybe 2 inches of snow to all the way up to about 6 inches in places, and both of them handled it pretty good. However, there's a lot of resistance in that snow, and keep in mind, everything on these things as far as running gear is stock motor, stock speed control, stock gearing in both vehicles, and they're running the stock tires. Now, when we were out the first time, I did have the trenchers on the Kraton just to give it a little more ground clearance, but I found rapidly that that wasn't overly necessary. In the second section of the video where we were hitting the ramps, that was all on the native tires that come with it, and they handled just fine. However, there's a couple things to note on this. 1, in my opinion, and we've discussed this a little bit, the Xmaxx handles those situations better. This handles good, but at the same time, this sits higher, it's got more ground clearance, and the design of the chassis, and let's take a look at that real quick. Bear with me here. The chassis design is caved in and it's tapered, which allows it to go through the snow better. It's one thing I was curious about, and I'm glad we had the chance to test it, because this one, let's do this again. This one has a flat chassis, and the snow builds up, the snow builds up flat on there, and it has more difficulty running in those conditions. So that being said, other than that, they both handled fairly well, but I'd have to give that category to the Xmaxx. As far as speed goes, now these both did pretty good, really. I mean, they're both pretty quick for their size and everything. The Xmaxx seems to grind through the snow a little bit more, and the Kraton 8S has the edge as far as quickness goes, and it's got more torque. It does get speed going a little better, but at the cost of control. So as far as speed goes, truck for truck, the Kraton takes the speed category. As far as control and handling goes, however, it's a completely different story. The transverse is true. The Xmaxx handles better in the adverse conditions. The cold weather doesn't seem to bother it as far as that goes, but the depth of the snow does cause problems. This does not steer nearly as tight as you would expect on tight ground, but that's to be expected in snow. It does take a pretty wide arc to turn the thing around, and if you're good with the brakes and the throttle, you can get it to skid and come around pretty good. This one, on the other hand, it's a bit more skittish, and here's part of the reason right here. It's the tires. The lugs on these aren't very deep, and I'll get you, take a look at this. The lugs here aren't very deep on this one. However, if you slick over to this one, you can see the deep lugs on the Xmaxx, and the Xmaxx tires grow with velocity, which means they dig down into the snow a little better and they get a little bit more grip, which makes them go a little better. So as far as that goes, for control and handling, that one goes to the Xmaxx. All right, so now it's time to take it to the ramp. How did these things handle under the jumping conditions? And they both ran at the same thing. You saw that. We were in the driveway. It was really slick. And I gotta say, the Xmaxx got on the ramp a lot easier than the Kraton. It was just easier to, I don't know if it's the fact that the tires are softer or whatnot, but the Xmaxx got on the ramp way easier than the Kraton. But once they were on the ramp, the Kraton, in my opinion, outperformed the Xmaxx. The distance was good, the flight was stable. They were just epic to see in the air. But there's one thing that is true. When you get the Xmaxx standing vertically on the ramp and the tires are churning and they're throwing debris and you can catch that in slow motion, it's amazing to watch. And none of the other ones seem to do that. The tires on this one don't grow quite so much. They don't look quite as aggressive as the wheels articulate on the Xmaxx. It just looks cool, and I just can't wait to see it again. So as far as the ramps go, you know, the Kraton does jump really well. So we're going to give this one to the Kraton. So now let's talk about run time. And you know, the weather is really cold. The first battery set we ran through it, the first couple we ran through, were at 4 degrees. 4 degrees outside. It was so cold, but it was a good test for the cars, and we did cartwheel and tumble a little bit and nothing broke, but it did pay the price on the cars. And what I mean by that is, you know, these are 5th scale cars and they don't get super long run times anyway. And the batteries we're running are 5,000 milliamp 60C LiPos. Okay, and we're running 2 4S packs in each one, and they're identical packs throughout. So these are the same in each set. So we have 2 sets that we run in the cars. Now, this one, it's faster, it's torquier, it's right out of the box, just quicker than the Xmaxx. But I was really disappointed in the run times when we got out there. Yes, it was cold, but between the day when we did 26 degrees and the day when we did 4 degrees, we still got basically the same run time. This one, under those conditions, the Kraton got 10 minutes flat on the batteries and they were done. That's just the way it was. Didn't seem to take very much time at all, and they were down. Now the problem being, actually, it's not really a problem. By the time they were down, my fingers were cold and it was time to go warm up. So that wasn't such a bad deal, but we were getting 15 minutes out of the Xmaxx on the same batteries. Now that's an extra 5 minutes. That's a third longer than you're getting with this one. And I gotta tell you, when you're having that much fun out there, you really don't get all that cold. It's when you start pulling the batteries out that things sort of ice up. So on that, we're actually getting 5 minutes more on the Xmaxx. So the Xmaxx takes that category too. And finally, maintenance. You know, you're running in snow if you're running in these conditions. And come on, everyone knows snow is water and water doesn't react well to metal. So if you're gonna run these things in the snow, there's a lot of metal components in there. It's just like splashing them through a puddle. Now, if you haven't seen the video we've done on RC maintenance, and I'll leave a link in the description down below for that one. If you haven't seen it, here's a quick abbreviation of what we go over in this. First, clean out as much snow as you can manually. What we like to do is bring a towel in, flip the car upside down, and run a house fan, just a regular old squirrel cage or whatever, and just blow some house warm air over it. It doesn't take long to get the snow and ice out of the car. Dab it out with a towel and then do it again and let it run till it's good and dry. Now, we like to use just your regular silicone lubrication, and we like to lube the whole car. Anything that can rust, we spray that on there, wipe it down. That's pretty simple. However, when you get to the gear or the bearings and the gears in there, that's where we like to put a little bit more lubrication on there, and you can choose what works for you. Just something to get some oils in there so they don't rust up. Now, I've had people comment that these have sealed bearings in them and spraying oil on the outside doesn't do any good to them, and that might work in the automotive world, guys. But in these RC cars, those seals are just basically dust covers. You can, if you let one sit and let it get gritty, and you can feel it when they do, you can spray a little just right on the outside of it and rub it a ways, and it'll free right up and it'll go, and you can actually see it drip through the bearing and take the foreign matter out. So you can lube them by just spraying it on there. Getting some lube on there before any corrosion begins is the best way. Prevent first, then you don't have to repair. So that's just kind of how that works. So that begs the question, which one is number one in this little head-to-head battle? So I really like this one. This is the Kraton 8S, and I've said that a lot because right now that one's number one in my collection. That one's reigning top of the pile. We even built racetracks for this one so we could play with it more often. So this one rating number one doesn't mean it's gonna win this one, because at one point, this was number one. So under the conditions and the way we rated things and the way we laid it out for you, the Xmaxx is the king of the snow for AJJAMStudios 2022. This is the one where we've got the best car for the job on the bench, and it's the Traxxas Xmaxx. Hey guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It's awesome when you do, and don't forget that notification bell to stay informed. You know, we do this because we enjoy it. This is a hobby for us. Everyone involved in the channel, this is our hobby. It's not our job, and this is our way of paying forward, you know, all the years that it took us to learn how to do what we do. You know, when we first got started, it was try and figure things out from a diagram you could never understand. And we learned over decades of how to do this. Now, we're not saying this is the only way to do things. In fact, if you do things differently, right on. Whatever you do works for you, and we're not saying it's wrong. But if you ever wind up stumped and you don't know what to do, perhaps one of these videos will help. If you have anything that you can add, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below and help others along the way. Hey guys, I'm AJ with AJJAMStudios saying, keep bashing, guys.